Hello and welcome to episode 83 of the MTG Conflux cast. My name is John, and I'm joined this week by my co-host Chris.
Hey.
This week, we're going to be talking about rules changes to the companion mechanic and about where constructed Magic is going moving forward now that we're hopefully free from every deck being a companion deck in every format they're legal in. We're also slowly descending into madness as Corona quarantine continues. But we've had our weekly online paper modern FNMs. So we've got and some Moto play, I think, from both of us, right? So we can get you up to date with that. Chris, you wanna go first as always, and then get us up to speed on what you've been up to in modern, and I think you put a little bit of legacy too, right? Since we've last talked.
Since we last talked, I believe so. So since it's the roundup, we're going to talk about a soon-to-be bygone era. I guess technically it's already a bygone era since the rules changes already got into effect. But I played a whole bunch of stupid companion decks. So because of the online webcam FNM situation and the fact that all stores are closed, we decided to allow printed out proxies for our webcam Magic because you can't go to stores to buy cards anyway. So who cares? There's no buy-in.
We had big shifts in the meta and the expectation that big shifts would be coming again not too long after. So it just made sense to do proxies. And what do you know? We're vindicated.
So the past 2 weeks, I've been playing a companion deck. Not a Luris deck. Not a Yorion deck.
Wow.
Not a Lutri deck.
Wow. What could it be?
Zerda deck.
Wow.
And not like cheating playing Kahira because you don't play Creatures companion deck. And also not generic Giganta because it's a free splash companion deck. I played an Umori the Collector deck.
Oh, baby.
For those of you who have already forgotten what this card does, because it's borderline the most unplayable companion. It's a 4-mana 4/5, and it's black and green. Its restriction is each non-land card in your deck must share a card type. And when it comes into play, you choose a card type, and spells of the chosen type cost 1 generic less. So what card type, you pray ask? Well, the easy one, creatures. It's a deck of all creatures.
Just dudes.
33 of them,
dudes.
In fact.
Oh.
And it's a Primeval Titan deck.
Of course.
Shocker.
Wow.
Big surprise there.
Dever saw it coming.
So I think John has the list up for you guys.
Yeah, I'll swap over here.
So I didn't make up the deck list. I found this deck on the Amulet Discord of all places.
Because this is an Amulet deck.
Because if you're playing Fields of the Dead and Primeval Titan, it's an Amulet deck. And that's what this deck's playing. So what do we got here in the creatures? Well, we have our normal suspects, Arboreal Grazers, a little bit of ramp. Good for your field decks. 2 Birds of Paradise. Originally, the list was playing 2 Noble Hierarchs. The guy said that Noble Hierarch Exalted was not necessary and Bird was arguably better.
I don't see any birds on your list. Am I blind?
If you refresh it, should be there.
I know visual view can be slow to catch up sometimes on
Stride Arbor, Grazer, 2 birds, 4 Fiend Artisan.
Chris, I see no birds. You lied.
Do you see Noble Hierarchs?
Nope.
It's literally below Arboreal Grazer.
Nope. Did you send me the wrong version?
No.
It says May 19th. Submitted deck.
I submitted it today.
Do you have multiple decks just called meme on T?
No. You're looking at the wrong deck. You're looking at the Yorion deck. We're talking about the Umori deck.
Did you link that as well for us?
Previously, yeah.
I'm blind. My bad. Sorry, everybody.
Umori the Collector.
Here we go. I'm just blind. All right. Sorry, I just mix up all these different decks that you. This is much better. Continue.
Right. So Bird much better than Noble Hierarch, because Noble Hierarch only makes Bant colors, and if you keep going down the list, you'll notice it's playing a Kenrith the Returned King.
Yeah.
So having access to black mana to reanimate your Primeval Titan is hot stuff. I tell you what. Noble Hierarch can't do that. And when you're a Field of the Dead deck, Exalted, who needs it? You don't attack alone.
We played this FNM, and I think you played every single one of your one-ups against me.
Yeah, there's also one Thalia in this deck, which I just naturally had on turn 2 against Alex Joe in the last round, and he was on Infect. That was pretty nifty.
Yeah, I think you like Fiend Artisan, and then I had like Snap Bolt mana up or something, and I was like, sure, you have Fiend Artisan. I was like, cool, there's a Thalia in play now. I was like, ah!
Oh yeah, I just like Fiend Artisan, one of those things where you activate it, and you're like, yeah, that's fine. And the creature's just in play, kind of like the Aetherfile.
Yeah.
So it's like, I have this like Volt Snap Volt ready to go. I'll just kill whatever you put into play. I put Thalia into play.
No.
I guess I'll do nothing and die. Yeah, Thalia kind of caught people with their pants down.
Yeah.
There's one more in the sideboard. Originally was playing 2, but I swapped one out for a Gaddock Teague because I felt like this deck could never beat Tron. And Gaddock Teague is pretty good against Tron. Only O-Stone really slips through the cracks there.
O-Stone. That's a big one to slip through, though. But
I never got paired against Tron, so who cares? I did board in Gaddock Teague against Mike. He was playing Dredge. No configurate here, sir.
Oh, man.
Wasn't actually relevant, but it seemed better than Thalia.
Yeah.
In the matchup. 4 Wall Blossoms. Yeah, I guess. Pay 3 to Loam. Ooh. Yeah, 4 Wall Blossoms in this deck. This deck was hilariously good against Infect between Wall Blossoms and Arboreal Grazers. Just these big butt idiot blockers. They're like, well, do I waste pump spells to break through, or do I just wait? And Grazer has reach, so it's like, Inkvod Nexus?
He's on green black, so he didn't have access to the invisible stalker, right?
Yeah, so all he had was Plague Stinger, which blood's blocked by Grazer.
Oof.
And so with the Thalia, it's like you can't even you spend a turn to kill the Grazer, and then you have a big turn next turn. You can't because there's a Thalia. So, and the green black versions typically run a little bit lighter on the pump spells, right?
I think the card that really impressed me the most out of the deck was Fiend Artisan. When I played against you and watched you play some of your matches.
Yeah, so Fiend Artisan, it's a new card. 2 mana 1/1. It gets +1/+1 for each creature in your graveyard, and you can pay X, green black, tap, sack another creature, search your library for a creature mana cost X or less, put it into the battlefield, then shuffle your library, activate only as a sorcery. So it's like kind of Birthing Pod, and that you have to sacrifice something, but kind of Green Sun Zenith because you get a creature that's X or less.
It just gets huge. It gets huge like Goyf, but it actually does stuff in a board stall, unlike Goyf.
Yeah, so it incidentally gets pretty big just because you're playing Sakura Tribe Elders, which sacrifice themselves, and your garbage Arboreal Grazer chump blocking something, or
Wall of Blossoms,
or whatever.
And they're just good fodder to feed to it too.
And it's like you have to sacrifice another creature. So it's like if you have no creatures other than the Fiend Artisan, it doesn't do anything, right? Well, you're playing a Dryad Arbor, so you could just fetch for a Dryad Arbor and then immediately just eat it for something better. So what I did a couple times was I would sack something, go get a Renegade Valier, and get back something else. So I am only playing one Scavenger Ooze in the sideboard, which was pretty important against like the Uro deck. And I was able to, I think it was against 5-color Niv, and I really wanted it to like fend off Earls and stuff like that. And just being able to, oh no, I don't think it was Niv. I think it was a Mystic Sanctuary Uro deck of some sort. Anyway, I only had one Scooze, so they killed my Scooze, but I was able to recur with sacking a dude to get a Renegade Valor to get it back, to rebuy my Scooze. And the Scooze never died again, and it was really important to me winning the game.
Yeah, it really increases your access to all these like fun of cards. Not even fun ofs, like Silver Bullets, really. Like,
yeah, and because it's like an ability, you can't counter it. So if you're playing against, you know, a control deck and they haven't pathed your Fiend Artisan, any shitter you play is going to turn into something more threatening.
Yeah,
and so it gets to the point where if I have another creature in 6 mana, I can just make a Primeval Titan whenever I want.
Woodland Bellower also is just kind of gross too. You can like Bellower into Rallier and start doing kind of like these like weird chains, like value chains.
Yeah, so Bellower is really adorable because it can get almost any creature in the deck other than Primeval Titan and Thalia and Ketrith, I guess.
It gets Thalia, right? Oh,
no, it's only green. Sorry. It's only non-legendary green creature.
Oh, I see.
So you can go get Wild Blossoms to draw a card if you want, although that's among the least exciting things you can do with your Woodland Bellower. If you have Revolt, getting Renegade Valier is usually pretty good. But you could even just get Dryad of the Elysian Grove and turn on your Valakuts or something. Or if you already have a Dryad and Valakuts in play, you can go get Dryad Arbor to make a land to trigger your Valakuts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or Field of the Dead or whatever.
You can do like weird shit with like Kitchen Finks in this deck too, with like Fiend Artisan and Kitchen Finks. Jeez.
Yeah, Kitchen Finks is another like anti-aggro bullet card.
I guess you can't Relier it back at least, so you can't like start going off.
And then the sideboard is all creatures too, because
it has to be.
You gotta play that Umori style, right? So your typical suspects like Collector Oof, Another Thalia, even Mind Sensor. A lot of Rhetoric's pretty sweet.
The Finks are good against the Loris Burn decks, I'm sure, and Scooze. You get a pretty good board against them.
And then Taurus Tracker is insane against, you know, the fair decks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have like what, 5 life gain cards in the board?
Yeah, with Knight of Autumn in there too.
Yeah. Wow, you have like 5, pretty decent life gain cards in your sideboard. That's really good against Burn. Wow.
And you're playing 8 walls. I mean, yeah. I didn't actually end up playing against any of the aggressive red Loris decks, but
I don't want to run it. Rhetoric is actually very good against Burn, I feel like. Because like they can't get through it with their creatures.
Yeah, it's probably a lot better against the prowess versions than regular Burn.
Oh, definitely.
But this deck does seem like an absolute dog to something like Ad Nauseam. Or Storm, or like, you know, any sort of spell fast combo deck. Yeah, this deck just kind of gets shit on.
Yeah, you just don't have enough access to your Thalias. You can get lucky, but
yeah, I was kind of surprised to beat Infect game 1, but it was off the back of the turn 2 Thalia, basically, which I just happened to have. So it was like turn 1 Grazer, turn 2 Thalia, which is pretty as good as it's going to get game 1.
It's pretty good. And then you just like turn up the aggro pretty quick from there, right?
Like the turn I needed, and I was still about to lose because, you know, Grazer can't block forever. And I top decked a Dryad, and I was able to kill him with a Valakut that turn.
Yeah, we went to turns, and you killed me on what, turn 5 of turns or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, I was like playing for the draw or something. It was like,
like Dryad 2 Valakuts just blows people up. I mean, this is like not new news, but
yeah.
And it's even grosser because you can like tap your fetch lands for mana in the meantime and just hold them until you have Valakuts, and then you just like, oh, like I had this fetch land I've been saving, and then I play my Titan, get 2 Valakuts, and I play 2 fetch lands for the turn, and then crack them all.
Like, it's a surprise that will help us later.
And it's like, in those situations, you're like, oh, well, if I just remove the Dryad, then the Valakuts fizzle. Like, okay, crack a fetch, kill your guy. In response, crack my other 2 fetches, you die anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need all the triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dryad's gross, man. Dryad is really gross.
I really wanted to do dumb things with Kenrith both 2 weeks. I only had one game where Kenrith was like doing something, because typically he would just get, removed immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But it was against 5-color Niv, Gigantha Niv. And it was relevant because Gigantha Niv can't play Supreme Verdict. So I was like, oh man, he's just gonna like wipe me and then play a second Niv, and I'm just gonna fucking lose. But he brings to light X5 for Abrupt Decay, killing like a Fiend Artisan. I was like, okay, yeah, that ain't it.
That ain't
it didn't dawn on me until like sideboarding, like, oh wait, he can't actually Supreme Verdict me.
We had a Yorion 5-color Niv deck, and we had a Gigantha 5-color Niv deck at FNM. It was interesting. It's also, our last FNM before this, we went from, I'm trying to see if I don't have my list here anymore, or do I? Let's see. Yeah, 1 sec. So we went from, we had so we had like 11 people, I think both times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We had 14, then we had 11 the next week. So we had a little bit of a drop. But we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 out of 14 companion decks on the 21st. And then on the 29th, out of 11 people, there was 1 person not playing a companion, and that was someone on Dredge.
Yeah.
And a lot more Luris. Yeah.
It was just really funny. Like, the 5-color Niv slapping me for 6 versus a Kenrith pay 6 mana, gain 10 life. Like, I was gaining life faster than the Niv could hit me, and it's like, wait a minute. Does that mean I just don't attack? But then if I don't attack, he just puts counters on his other creatures. This deck was a fun pile, but it did feel like a pretty clunky pile sometimes.
You got first at our FNM of 11 people, and I went did you play it the week before as well?
Yeah, I went 3-1 the week before.
So
played the exact same 75 both
pretty
weeks.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean, nope, didn't play against any bad matchups, like particularly bad matchups.
Yeah.
But then online I've also been playing stupid companion decks. One of which was Elves.
Oh, we can talk about Elves now. Okay.
I think I talked about Elves a little bit beforehand, but I don't remember if I talked about my league or not. So I played one Legacy League ever so far with Elves, with a Lurrus in my sideboard that was not my companion in my game ones. And I went 4-1 somehow. I ended up losing in my last round 5. Always feels bad. Lost to Storm, as you do playing Elves.
Yeah.
But I managed to beat the Garuda deck somehow. It decided to shit on itself enough for me to win. So that was cool. And I did get to board into a Lurrus deck on a number of occasions. And it was kind of sweet.
Yeah, it seems kind of sweet. In Elves especially.
Because the interesting thing is the deck's now playing Elvish Reclaimers. Elvish Reclaimers instead of Mana Dorks.
Both those cards are very good. I've been really both of those cards, just as a quick aside, really kind of sailed under my radar, and they're just both really good. Like Rejuvenator's been good in like Pioneer, and then in your strange modern jank decks, but just good in Pioneer. And then Reclaimer has been just really good in Legacy in these like turbo decks, like these turbo depths decks.
Yeah, it's like an uncounterable crop rotation for 2 mana. Puts land to play tap, which is like a huge cost compared to crop rotation. But so the elf deck is playing 4 of these guys, and against like the Delver decks that are playing Lurrus, you would just board out all your natural orders and all that shit, and all your Crater Hoofs and everything, and just be a Lurrus deck. So you board in like some removal, some abrupt decays, and you just have a Lurrus now. And so the game becomes like they try and kill your shit, and you just keep replaying these stupid 3-4 elvish, elves from the graveyard. And they're like, oh man, like this is hell of annoying. And the elf can make a Bajuka Bog to exile their yard to cut them off of their Lurrus. Or it always guarantees you getting a Gaia's Cradle. Or if it's relevant, you can even get a Caracas and like bounce your Lurrus.
It's really interesting to me because like, I've been kind of taking a sideline on Legacy for a while during all these shenanigans. But like when elves used to be like bigger, when I was playing like Grixis Delver, when Grixis Delver was like the deck to beat, the elves matchup was always like, I think you still back then were citing out like some number of natural orders after board, right? Like generally some of them were coming out because it's like it's really bad if it gets dazed, especially, right? Like or if you usually you can make enough surplus mana, it's not really a big deal, but just getting it forced. But there's like always the fear on the Delver side that like you would like overcommit to like a really removal heavy hand, or you'd brainstorm and keep a bunch of removal, and you'd like I don't need this like counter magic, and you just get fucking slapped by the
by Nat
order off the top or whatever. And it was like always just like this little fear like in the back of your mind, and like I was like, man. Like, on one hand, I'm sure it's, like, really annoying to play against Lurrus out of elves, but on the other hand, it would be just, like, such a relief to not have to worry about getting Nat ordered out of nowhere.
That's true. But at the same time, back in the Deathrite Shaman era...
Well, I guess you could still leave it in, right?
Well, yeah, but you can't Nat order into anything.
Yeah, okay. So so that's fine. So, yeah, never mind. That's right.
Like, just Nat order into...
So, you're not worried
Elvish
about it.
Visionary, ooh.
Yeah, so, yeah, you're just not worried about it. You gotta set in True Name Nemesis. It has to be a green creature, right? Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. That would be spooky, though.
That order for True Name? Like, why? Also, a very important thing
for... That doesn't work with Lurrus either. I'm dumb. Ignore me.
For Elvish Reclaimer, it survives Plague Engineer, even if it's not buffed.
Huh.
So I won a game against Plague Engineer. I only saw Plague Engineer one time. And it was coming out of like a snow deck.
Yeah, not a Lurrus deck.
Actually, no. Sorry. I think it was like a D&T style deck.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like a black-white Eldrazi Taxes deck in Legacy. And he Plague Engineers me. And my board was like, I don't know, Korean Ranger or something, not Nettle Sentinel, Dried Arbor, and Wirewood Symbiote. So he plays his Plague Engineer, and I only lose one of my 3 creatures. It's like, huh, that ain't so bad.
At least it's like a Death Toucher.
I play a Reclaimer, and I just like Nat order the Reclaimer into a hoof, and I have like 2 other creatures that just attack him, and he dies. I'm like,
Nat order into hoof is just such a beating. Like,
and so I'm playing like Hello Newton's list, who won like the Legacy Challenge or whatever to queue for the PT.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's playing a Savannah and a Archon of Valor's Reach instead of the second Crater Hoof.
Card's sweet.
This card's pretty sick.
I've gotten slapped by it on a number of occasions.
It didn't end up being super relevant most of the time. I did get to use it as a bait spell. I love being able to play 6 mana cards as bait spells. It's so ridiculous. So like, oh man, like I drew my Crater Hoof. I don't want them to counter because it's my only Crater Hoof. I know. I'll just cast this Archon first, And if they counter it, then they don't have a counter for my hoof. And if they don't counter, I just need instant, and they can't counter my hoof anyway. And they didn't have a counter, and then so it just resolves. I'm like, okay, here's a hoof now, and you die.
It's like the ultimate bait spell.
And it's like, what else can happen? Like, they can't even stifle your hoof trigger because that's an instant. They just can't do anything. Like, here's an Archon, you die now.
They could sulfur elemental you. That doesn't work. No, it doesn't. It's only
Like
on white
nimble
shit.
obstructionist me, I guess.
Yeah. There's
But,
no green equivalent of sulfur elemental, huh? It's only white stuff. I remember bringing that in against Death and Taxes a lot back in the day.
Yeah, I think obstructionist is the only like played card that would really get me. I mean, I guess you could play like Holy Day or some shit.
Is it Staticaster? Cross your fingers.
That wouldn't even be that good. Like, if I'm hoofing you, you're probably just dead anyway.
Which one was the one that untaps? I mean, it's not instant speed, but isn't there like a pinger that... Is it Goblin Sharpshooter that like untaps when you ping something and it dies?
I think when something dies, it untaps. Yeah.
That's like... That card must have been fucking terrifying for elves back in the day.
4 mana, win the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now that Lurrus has been banned in Legacy, bye-bye Lurrus. So I was like, man, what are we supposed to play instead of Lurrus to beat like these stupid Delver decks and shit? And apparently the answer is a Boseiju.
That's right, you were telling me about this.
You just don't board your natural orders out. You just leave them in and you just Boseiju your natural order.
That card was really spooky out of Sneak and Show back in the day. Like, that was problematic.
Because because it's a land, you can get it with your Reclaimer.
Ugh.
So you just tutor up your stupid Boseiju, and you can board in your Progenitus now because you're playing natural order still. And just like, here's a Progenitus, Delver. Like, what are you gonna do about it?
At least Sneak and Show to like draw into it or brainstorm into it. You can just search it up. Gross.
Yeah. So, but Elves, very not fun deck to play when your connection's a little slow. Utilizing Heritage Druid is not the hottest. Also, learning how to use Wirewood Symbiote. Click it. Is the next click the one I untap or the one that I bounce?
Better read. Better be careful on that one.
It's untap for those of you who don't know. It's choose target, then pay cost.
Ah.
And lastly, I've been playing a bunch of my stupid meme pile deck, which I think John had shown earlier.
Oh yes, let me go back to the view so people can see the meme deck, which I didn't even realize this was an 80 card deck.
Yeah, so I had played Amulet Yorion previously, just like for shits and giggles, and kind of knew the deck was really bad.
Wood elves.
And so after playing the deck a little bit more, I realized the deck is actually just really fucking bad. So I was like, but I still want to play a stupid Yorion deck because that's what you do in free rooms, right? You play stupid companion decks because you can.
Sometimes you take them through leagues.
Yeah.
More on that later.
If you're braver than I. So yeah, I put together this Yorion Field of the Dead deck. You'll see a recurring theme in decks I've been playing recently.
Yeah, you have a sick fascination with Primeval Titan plus Field of the Dead. And Valakut. You just get to play it all now.
Yeah, it turns out it's just really good. So I wanted to play a stupid Primeval Titan deck with a Yorion, but I needed to maximize my Yorion value, which meant no more Amulet, no more Azusa. We need more ETBs. So we got 4 Grazers, 4 Coiling Oracles, Dryad, not ETB, 4 Elvish Rejuvenators, 1 Nissa Vastwood Seer.
A Wood Elves.
A Wood Elves. A Talus Tracker, no ETBs there, but he, benefits from all the lands.
Shoot.
And 2 Golos. Tireless Pilgrim. And
way at the bottom for some reason. I don't know why it's sorted like this.
And 4 Titans, obviously. 4 Titans.
It's like Golos at the very end, after Wooded Foothills.
So the adorable thing about Golos is if you activate it, you get to play the top 3 cards. So if you hit lands, you can still play the lands. Woo. So it's like, oh man, hitting lands so bad. Is it though?
It's like you can make 3 zombies. You can make 6 zombies.
And if you have a Dryad in play, you can play multiple lands if you hit multiple lands. And then spells, 4 packs, 4 explores, 1 finale of devastation.
Yeah, well, just 1? All you need.
All you need. You know, it's a bad ramp spell or an expensive Titan, or it's a win con if you go long enough.
Yeah.
X is 10, it kills him dead. And then we have 8 enchantments to combo with our Yorion here. We have 4 Oath of Nissa, 4 Abundant Growth.
Abundant Growth, man.
So if you... I won't go through the land base in super detail here, but all you really need to know is I'm playing 2 Triomes, both of the blue-green X Triomes.
Because the bug and the rug one.
Yeah, because they're forests, which you can get off of wood elves. And they don't have the same names as each other.
Yeah.
Which is key. Also, being islands, they make your Castle Vantress come into play untapped.
Ooh.
And your Garen breaks because they're also forests.
It's hot.
1 Cavern of Souls because why not? 2 Valakut's here, 2 Telluri West, and 2 Growth Chambers to pick up your T-West.
You can fit a waterlogged grove in here.
Yeah. Originally this was a Temple of Mystery, but I decided I wanted more untapped mana on turn 1 for grazers and shit.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I figured drawing a card would be better later in the game than scrying one
anyways.
Early.
Yeah.
So, hence the change. And then a smattering of random green fetch lands. Only 4 Misty Rainforests because we actually play basic forests and basic islands in this deck. And 1 Botanical Sanctum because it's a blue-green land that doesn't share a name with anything else.
Where's your snow-covered forest?
It's in there somewhere.
Oh, there's 2 of each.
There's 2 of them, yeah.
I just sorted very oddly on here.
Oh, and 1 Vesuva. I did have a game where I did play Vesuva copying nothing.
The classic.
On like turn 3 off of my Dryad because I can tap it for any color mana.
Did you flicker it with Yorion? Oh, this doesn't work, right?
You can't flicker the land.
Yeah.
So I played Vesuva, copy nothing, tap it for green with Dryad, and enchanted with Abundant Growth.
I was like, how are we enabling this? Wow.
So we have 2 layers of color-producing protection here.
Wow.
And then later on, I can just bounce it with a bounce land to reset it as something else if I want to anyway.
Impressive.
Yeah, this is a deck. The sideboard, geez, where do I start? There's 3 Ashiok in my sideboard.
Okay, what the hell, man?
So the thing is, the Yorion decks are like, they're 80 cards. So drawing your sideboard cards are like not as likely.
No.
So you kind of have to try and consolidate cards. So Ashiok's like my pseudo answer to other Titan decks plus kind of shitty Grave Hate card.
Yeah.
I figured that most of the graveyard decks that I would be worried about are more incidental graveyard decks, like Mystic Sanctuary decks or Uro decks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not particularly terrified of dredge-like decks because I have a lot of shitters to block with, and I'm still a Primeval Titan Bajuka Bog deck, which is insane. Against dredge decks.
You also have Field of the Dead to go toe-to-toe on flooding the board.
To gum up the board. And then some smattering of...
The Archimedes does not get through our Boreal Grace.
No, they're just bloodgast.
Man.
No, this deck's been a lot of fun. It's a deck. That's all I can say.
It's a deck.
It's a deck. Sometimes you play turn 1 like Forest, Grazer, put a bounce into play, pick up the Forest, and they're just like, wait, I know this one. And you untap and play Wood Elves, and they're like, oh, wait, never mind.
Yeah, Wood Elves, man.
But getting to play 3 Field of the Dead in the same deck feels good again. It's like
you have 4
back in the day with...
Oh, you have a Field of Ruin, my bad. 1 Field of Ruin.
Yeah, 1 Field of Ruin.
4 fields, not all of the dead.
Back in the day when Bantfield was a Pioneer deck, it kind of brings me back to those days because you're playing, Rejuvenators. And
I was just going to say, that's where I got my respect for Elvish Rejuvenator from.
And Coiling Oracle, man, what a card.
Snake Elf Druid, 3 creature types.
There's actually a lot of elves in this deck.
Are there?
Because Nissa is an elf.
Yeah. You get what, 8 elves? 9 elves.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the finale is wrong, and the finale should just be like a second tracker or something, but...
And the Nissa depicts an elf on it, so you've got even more elves.
This deck is a hoot. Castle of Vantress was actually surprisingly good.
I believe that. The card's powerful.
Upkeep Scry 2. Sure.
Why not?
Anyway, what have you been playing recently, John?
Well, I played the Miracles deck. I don't remember if we talked about this last time. I scored a 5-0 my first league with the Kahira Miracles deck that Aspiring Spike qualified for the PT with. It's sweet. Finally, a critical mass of enablers for counterbalance in Modern with Mystic Sanctuary and Omen of the Sea, which, man, Omen of the Sea is a fun card. It's instant speed preordained, but it's got, some back end on it, so you don't feel quite as bad paying 2 mana for it. Also, it's an instant, which is nice. So Omen of the Sea is pretty cool, despite its lack of synergy with Snapcaster. But you don't have to worry about that in the Kahira version, because no Snapcasters here. And they just do gross...
You just don't play Snapcaster.
Gross things with the counterbalance, because you can scry on 2 separate occasions. You can
Mystic Sanctuary with counterbalance is really dumb.
It's really gross, and you can do weird stuff with Omen of the Sea where you can play it, and with the trigger on the stack, you sack it. So then you scry 2, and draw a card. So you can dig up to 5 deep if you really are really looking for something. You're like, I really need to hit Terminus here. You get to look at 5 fucking cards for 5 mana. Not the worst. But then
once you do hit Terminus, you can just Terminus every single turn you keep drawing fetch lands.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty hot.
also, counterbalance revealing Terminus counters Primeval Titan.
Yeah, it does.
Which I've had happen to me, and it's like, why? Why is this a thing?
Entreat the Angels is a 3 as well, which is nice because there's a lot of 3-drops. Counters Luris.
Yeah.
That's a fucking slap. Get your Luris out of here. By the way, going to my turn, Angels. Go. Oh, you're dead. But that was fun, but we've been playing something sweeter. So last week was my birthday, and I was like, what am I going to do on my birthday? I can't, get together with anybody. And I was like, I want to, do something with the people I know. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to, get on Discord and, stream Modo. I was like, what am I going to do for streaming Modo? And the night before, I'd been talking with Swans Kevin about Swans. I was like, what if we make a Yorion Swans deck? And we were spitballing some ideas. We're like, well, should it be Jeskai? Should it be Rug? 4-color? And so I spat out a freaking Rug Yorion Swans list, and I was streaming it to a few people, and we were playing it in the free room.
You shot one off to me, and I was like, you shot a list to me, and I was like, this deck needs more abundant growths.
Yeah, everyone was like, more abundant growth. I was like, fine. So we played it in the free room a little bit, and we got some abundant growths going, and then we're like, you know what? It's league time. We're gonna run this bad boy through a league. And we promptly just lose the first round. And it was against this I thought it was in Smallpox, but we were talking about, I actually misremembered. That was in the free room. We lost to this Smallpox deck, but we actually lost to this super oppressive feeling Lurrus deck. It was like a white weenie Lurrus deck that used it was like playing Thalia, it was playing Selfless Spirit main deck. It had the 1-mana Gideon, it had the Adonto Fort, or what, the one that makes a token and then flips when you attack with 3 things and becomes a land that spits out 1/1s. Adonto the First Fort or something, or it was played like standard white aggro for a while. It's like the white
isn't it like something Legion's
Landing. Yeah, Legion's Landing. Yeah, it's playing all that. So it had like, the aggro package. But then it was looping Hope of Gurapur with Lurrus. Oh. And so the deck just locks you out from casting any spells. Except for on their turn. Like any non-creature spells or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was miserable to play against. It was awful because they had Selfless Spirit, they had the new Mother of Runes, Giver of Runes, so they had Giver of Runes, Selfless Spirit, and so they would just get like, a few guys down to like kind of like Death and Taxes style gum up the board, and they would just like slam Lurrus and just start recurring Hope of Gurapurs every turn, and it was just impossible to deal with. It's fucking awful, dude. Because it'd be like, they'd like attack of Hope of Gurapur, sack it. You don't get to cast stuff until their next turn. So on your turn, nothing. So you pass back to them, and then now you're in a spot where their Giver of Runes is untapped. They have Selfless Spirit, and so what do? Like, they attack with Hope of Gurapur. Okay, you gonna kill it with like a bolt or something? Well, they have like 2 ways to protect it. And then so it's like, oh, okay, like, you kill it or whatever. They just can take a turn off and like replay like Selfless Spirit or whatever if you kill that. Or it's gross, man. It's really gross. I got locked out so hard. But we rallied back from there, and I guess I should share the deck. We rallied back from there and we rattled off 4 wins in a row. And we actually played against a streamer twice, the same streamer, Everose. And so he was playing Grixis Hollow One. And I think I went back and watched the replays. So we played against him, we beat him. And then he like finished, we both had a round after that. I was still doing my league because that was, I think, my second round. That was his second to last, so it was his 4th round. He did his 5th round while I did my 3rd round. And then he re-queued with another deck and hit me again. On a different deck, and he was on Jeskai Dragons. So he played it. He didn't realize that it was the same person, and so I'll go into the deck a little bit now. So it's a Swans deck for people that don't know how that works. I don't know how you wouldn't.
Yeah, if you've listened this long,
this podcast, like if you've been here, you know what we're about here. But it's Rug, So we got Icefang Kotal. We got Abundant Growth because we're a Yorion deck. We need a Thin. And then we got Hornet's Nest is our extra swans, our targets for Skred and our bolts. Because we're a bigger deck, we need more things to turn on our synergies with the Skreds and the bolts and our Magmatic Sinkhole. Or we were playing Harvest Pyre for a while too. And it's also just like really good against all these like burn decks floating around now, all these Lyris burn decks, right? Because what do they do against a Hornet Nest?
Like what? Bolt it? No.
Yeah, like attack into it? Like sure, like it just makes 2 death touching bees if they're like their Goblin Guide. Like they flip a card, we maybe get a land, and then you always have 2 1/1 death touchers. Like sure, awesome. And so Everose was on the Grixis Hollow One deck, and we I'm trying to remember how the games went, but
how does Hollow One stack up against Hornet's Nest?
So he scooped game 2 to a Hornet's Nest. So he thought we had boarded it in, I guess. I popped into his chat afterwards, and I was like, oh hey, like it's me, your opponent. And I was like, he didn't like see very much of what we were doing, right? And so I sent him the deck list. And he was like, I guess like he doesn't like Companion very much. So he was like grumbling about Companion and Yorion decks. And he's like, this is what you were playing? Like, he's like, I thought you sided in Hornet Nest. And it's like, no, that's just a
no.
fucking deck, man. Main deck Hornet Nest. We're a Swans deck. And like, you just see his mind like unraveling slightly as he looked at the deck list. And so he cues into us again and doesn't realize it's us until we play a Hornet's Nest at some point in game 1, and you can just see him like pause, like he just like freezes, and like, you can just see the gears like start to turn as he starts to piece together the cards that we've been playing. And he's like, is someone else playing this deck? And so he starts typing, and he's like, he types to me, and he's like, did this deck like 5-0 or something? He's like, I played against this earlier. I was like, no, like, I'm the same person. You played against me earlier. And at this point, he just has my deck list because I shipped it to him like, you know, an hour and a half ago after we played the first time. So he just has, you know, perfect information now. And he's like, you know, so he's playing Jeskai Dragons, though. Like, I know Jeskai Dragons. Like, that's another shitty deck. We've been there. And so the new Jeskai Dragons deck plays Fairy Dragon or whatever. Sprite Dragon, yeah. Which I've also been playing a bunch of Sprite Dragon and like Grixis Delver, so I know how the play patterns with that card go. So I'm like in this bizarro world unique position where I'm playing this weird fucking rogue deck where this guy has no clue what I'm like, how the play patterns work, but I do because I played a bunch of Swans. And I also know all the play patterns for his deck because I played Jeskai Dragons and Dragons decks. Like, what are the fucking odds that like I would know this matchup that well, right? Like, it's like it's infinitesimally small odds. And so I'm like, oh, like this matchup is just all about Sprite Dragon. Like, that's the only card that fucking matters in the matchup, because like Ojutai is 5 mana. It's like impossible to resolve like into like, you know, this remand Force of Negation deck. Like, yeah, good fucking luck resolving your Ojutai. Like, you're gonna have Ojutai plus 2 counter spells up? Like, no way. It's like 9 mana minimum. Yeah, so if he's
and
lucky.
Then next turn you have to protect it from a Skred?
Yeah, like impossible. Or just getting blocked by an Ice Fang Codal, which doesn't get countered by Force of Negation. Yeah, and he didn't have Pav's main deck, so he had no clean way to deal with a Hornet Nest or a Swans. And so he just gets rolled. He's like bitching about how he got paired against B guy again. I'm like, I'm B guy now. It's like,
not the bees!
Not the bees! Yeah, like Wicker Man intensifies. So we go into the second round, and I like made a few misplays, unfortunately. I like, when you're playing with a bunch of fucking Abundant Growths and Astrolabes, you can sometimes lose track of how many islands you have. And I like cracked a fetch and got like a tapped Mystic Sanctuary. I only had 2 in the deck at that point. And so my other one was in hand. I had 2 fetches. So I crack 1 fetch and just get a tap Sanctuary. And I'm like, oh, like I can't even like reroll on that because I have it's the 3rd island now.
Oh, yeah.
So I only had 2 in the deck, so I couldn't even dial up another to still do that, because I still had the mana to do the play I wanted, but I just didn't have access to the Sanctuary anymore because the second one was just happened to be in my fucking hand. So we went up to 3 Mystic Sanctuaries after that league. But like I made a few plays like that, and then like I blocked I attacked into a 5/5 Sprite Dragon with a 4/5 Yorion because I like forgot that it had grown, and like it just didn't matter. Like Swan's decks just roll people on card advantage, and so eventually we get into a place where I just like resolve a Hornet Nest, and then I like pick a fight with like a Magmatic Sinkhole or something in his upkeep, and he's like, oh, fight back. And it's like end of all that. In response to the whole stack, Scred it with like 7 Snowlands in play, and he just scoops. It's like fucking bees, man. So he's like, you can tell he's just like tilting off, and he's just like talking to his chat, and he's like I'm going to the bathroom. He's like, stop giving me B guy. So if you check out his VODs from the 28th of May, that's hilarious. You can catch it. It's like, I think like one's like 58 minutes into his stream, and the other is like, I don't know, like another like 2 hours after that or something, hour and a half after that.
Good job, B guy.
I'm B guy now. I've renamed myself to stop giving me B guy in our Magic chat. But yeah, Hornet's Nest is great, man. And like it's kind of funny because so the issue with Swans was always like fitting everything in, especially with like, it used to be a blue-red deck, right? But the Ruck deck, you have like, now you want to cram like these Ice Fangs in, you want to cram these Hornet Nests in. It's like, how do you find fucking space for all this shit? Just play 80 cards. Like, oh, all my ratios work out so much better now. It's great. Just like
and between Abundant Growth and Astrolabe, you fix your shitty mana issues, right?
Oh yeah, like your mana is great. Like no, like that's why I got so bamboozled by the Mystic Sanctuary, because the mana was just perfect. Like had like no mana problems. It was just amazing. It was great. Like 3-color these days. It's like you play 4-color easily these days. Now like 3-color, get out of here. Like nothing. And I like really liked playing the one of Ketria Triumph. It was just like really nice to like, you know, on like turn 1 with this deck a lot of times you like hold a bolt or like a Stem of Denial and try to get someone, and then like they don't do anything. You just fucking get your tri-land tapped. It cycles if you draw it late, which is nice. You get to play some Omen of the Seas, which I was really impressed with. Omen of the Seas quite good. And so you get to play all these 2019 Magic cards, man. All these 2019 to 2020 Magic cards. Like you got Vista, you got the Triumph, you got Sanctuary, you got Omen, you got Archmage's Charm, you got Force of Negation, you get Icefang Kotal, like Sinkhole is like Astrolabe. Like the deck is just all new cards. It's so weird. Like the core concept of the deck is like, you know, quite old, but like it just an absurd amount of 2019 2020 cards, which is just crazy. Veil of Summer in the board. Flusterstorm is legal now. Flusterstorm is feeling really good in all these fair matchups online. You know, everyone's playing like Yorion and Luris. Like Flusterstorm was quite good. I was pretty happy with that card. And then we get to swap out our Batterskull we've been playing forever in Swans for a Thragtusk with Yorion.
Good old swag daddy.
Yeah, I get that Restoration Angel out of here, man. We're just gonna flicker that bad boy with Yorion. It's like disgusting. Like you're like, I'll flicker this Kotal, this Astrolabe, this Abundant Growth, this Omen of the Sea. My Thragtusk too, so we get a beast. We gain 5 fucking life. Like easy peasy. Gross.
I too have had some gross Yorion turns.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, Yorion, go ahead and bounce this Grazer, Coiling Oracle, Wood Elves, and a Primeval Titan. Oh, and an Oath of Nissa for good measure.
Yeah.
Blech.
So then I played it at FNM last week, and it did pretty well. I got slapped by Chris, though. Oh my god. Just absolutely slapped by Chris.
We played both weeks, right? You were playing Miracles the first week.
My deck just failed to function the first time when I was on Miracles. Like,
yeah, I don't know what happened. You just like
the deck. I just didn't draw like functional hands. Like the deck just was magic cards on the table. I don't know. It was bad. It was really bad.
It's like some cantrips and die.
Yeah. And then this week it was just like I interacted, but like the fiend or whatever was just insane. It was just
Dahlia bamboozled you too.
Yeah,
I think
it's so hard to kill with the red removal. Like it just grew out of the range of the red removal really quickly, and then it was like also like a must answer.
You did get a game off the back of some bees.
Yeah, the bees are really good.
And a swan, because like swan hits for 4, like it's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you like made 6 bees or something, and like 10 use like 10.
That's a lot of damage. And you can like attack in and then play Yorion and flicker the swan, so you still have it back to block. You just have like 8 power blocking now.
Yeah, but I think one of the games you drew like all 4 Screds.
Yeah.
But there were times where like Fiend Artisan was bigger than Scred.
Yeah. Well, there's like a long period where you had Fiend Artisan on like 6 and I had a Magnetic Sinkhole. This is like cool. This is awesome.
I like Fiend Artisan sack like Dryad Arbor to go get Renegade Valor to rebuy the other Fiend Artisan that you'd killed. So I'm just like looping these Fiend Artisans, and you're just like spending all your time trying to kill them because they're huge.
Yeah. They're just like huge,
at
and
the same time
just,
making
like,
sure I can't resolve a Primeval Titan.
Yeah, it was just like it was completely hopeless. Yeah. There's just never
in retrospect, I should have just like used Fiend Artisan to make a Primeval Titan.
Yeah.
But I was like so like wrapped up in I can get Renegade Valor to get back Fiend Artisans. Like that seems pretty sweet.
I just dunk on him with value. I'll beat him in his own game.
And then afterwards I was like, wait a minute, I could just put a Primeval Titan to play.
Yeah.
Oops.
So that's been what I've been up to. But I guess moving away from that, we can get into the kind of the backdrop for what we've been talking about this whole time, which is this morning WotC announced or made a BNR announcement together with a rare combined rules change to the game. And I guess I'll actually put the website view back up so we can have people see it. But so they banned some crap in standard, who cares, and historic. Turns out Agent of Treachery and Fires of Invention are super banned. Or super busted, who knew?
I mean, Fires of Invention really busted, who knew that was going to come.
Oh, shocker, surprise. Okay, moving on.
Agent of Treachery. Okay, so one thing about the Agent of Treachery ban I think is hilarious. It's because of like this new card they printed. It's like some humans like attack, look at the top fucking like 10 cards and put a human into play. Agent of Treachery is a human, so they're just like, oh look, turn 3 or 4, here's a thing, I'm gonna steal your land. It's like super dumb.
Great game design. Yeah.
I saw people doing that in Modern too, like some meme Yorion deck with like Agent of Treacheries and shit.
Nice.
Yeah.
But the rules change they made for Companion, which is relevant to all formats except for Pauper, I guess, is they are making it so now you cannot just cast your Companion at any time. You have the ability to, once per game, at the time you could cast a sorcery, you can pay 3 generic mana to put your Companion from your sideboard into your hand. It is a special action, which means it's not an activated ability. It can't be responded to. It's like Morph, basically.
Yeah, it just can't be countered. It just happens.
Can't be stopped by Phyrexian Revoker, they call out specifically. So this means that effectively Companions cost 3 mana more now, potentially paid in installments if you want to do it over like multiple turns.
Yeah, so it's all Companions now you have to be wished for 3 mana.
Which has implications. So you can't just on turn 3 jam a Lurrus and cast a bubble anymore. You have to put
it in your hand.
Put it in your hand first, which means if you don't cast it right away, it is thought seizable. It also gives your opponent a little bit more warning to potentially hold up a counterspell for it. With that in mind, how do you think this shakes out for Modern, Legacy? We'll leave Standard to other people who are more informed about that format. But in Modern and Legacy, how do you think that shakes out as far as the decks that have been good and the Companions that have been good, and whether they'll keep being good?
So one thing I want to quickly point out before we get into the rule change is Lurrus was banned in Vintage.
Yeah.
This was 2 weeks ago, or
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago.
Because then they banned it, and then the next week, which was last week, they announced the announcement for this week, right? Because they have to do that now. Because they're not on the schedule, but they announced the announcement.
So it was banned in Vintage, because restricting in Vintage doesn't make any sense when it's a Companion and already one of, and so they just banned Lurrus. And that's a big deal because this is the first time a card's been outright banned in Vintage for a long time.
Yeah. It's been a really long time.
I don't even know if the last card was banned. I'm sure someone out there is going to be very angry who's, Vintage is proper Magic and you should know this, but I don't. Also, Lurrus was banned in Legacy, as was Zerda.
Yeah.
So they basically said Lurrus was too pervasive, too good, and Zerda has win rates similar to Lurrus, but no one's playing it. So if we ban Lurrus, everyone's just going to start playing Zerda, and that's just going to be the new deck. So Lurrus and Zerda are banned. So with that in mind, the 3 mana special action, tutor, wish, whatever, I feel like has the biggest implications for Lurrus because it's the most popular. But that doesn't affect Legacy because Lurrus is still banned.
It's also the cheapest. The cheapest good one, right? Like, I mean, Zerda's good too, but like, yeah.
So in terms of like Legacy, Lurrus isn't a player anymore. I don't. Some people are talking about, are they going to unban Lurrus and Zerda in Legacy now that the changes happened? And I don't know. It's possible. I can't really say. I will say that for Modern, I think this has a pretty big impact on especially Lurrus and his popularity. I still think that Companions will still be good because it's still paying 3 mana to get a card that you didn't have to spend a card to get. So it's not a tutor. It's not a cantrip. It's not really a wish because you don't need a card to get it. So the card's still free in material, but it's not free in tempo because you have to pay mana.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think this is a very really not an errata or change that we were expecting. I think a lot of people were expecting something more along the lines of like
to fix the card
commander
advantage
identity
issue,
or like put it in your hand at the beginning and bottom something else, like to address the card advantage problem or to make it more restrictive. And this hasn't done anything to either of those, right?
None of the fixes that were described fixes the consistency issue, though, which is like a big kind of rock under the water that I think a lot of people weren't focused on. Just the fact that the mechanic, there's no fix for this, but it is a consistency issue, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's still always going to be there. It's always going to be in your hand for 3 mana.
That's why like stuff like Once Upon a Time and the new Mulligan rule have been so problematic because they've really increased consistency and like reduced variance in the game. So Companion is just more of that. No matter how you change it or slice it, right? It just like, and I think they even called that out in the article they wrote. They were talking about how they were hoping that by making it so you would want to cast the stuff in your hand first because you didn't have to pay to put the Companion. You would have to pay to put the Companion in your hand, so it's not as attractive as an option until later, that you would hopefully do it later in the game or not at all, and that way the game would be more varied early on, instead of being like, right, turn 3, I jam my Luris and play a Mishra's Bauble every fucking game, right? Like, so, yeah.
So I think the 3 mana tax, if you will, is... It is kind of a big deal, though. 3 mana is a lot of mana to pay, especially for your stupid Luris or something. I do think that a deck like Burn would still want to play it because it's the other restriction is otherwise free. And the whole reason why you're playing Luris and Burn is when you flood out, you have something that can provide you more action by playing a creature in itself and by rebuying another creature from your yard to keep the pressure going when you're otherwise flooding out. It's not as good at doing that, right? Obviously, because you have to spend a turn to put it into your hand, but it's still better than just drawing more air.
The fact that they have to telegraph it is really nice for playing against it, at least. Like, you like know, oh, they have Luris now. Like, I might want to hold up a counter spell. Which is the cleanest way to answer it.
But I do think a deck like Burn is probably going to be much less incentivized to play shit like Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah.
And Seal of Fire. Like, you're going to be playing Luris more as perhaps what they intended the card to be used as, which is a win for WotC, I guess.
It's a win for Mishra's Bauble. Whew. I like me some Mishra's Bauble, but man, people were like, the gallows, right? People were like looking towards the gallows, a little gleam on the blade. Thinking back to Faithless Looting and Mox Opal.
So I still think that we'll be seeing Luris decks, because a lot of these Luris decks are fair decks. They're either like really fast, aggressive decks that are only playing it as flood insurance anyway, or they're highly interactive, grindy decks, which can go long enough to where they can afford to spend that tax and play it over a couple turns, or just wait till the game's long enough to just slam it in one turn. And because of this, I think that Yorion is actually maybe the best companion now.
Yeah.
Especially in Legacy. I mean, I don't think it's a question in Legacy anymore, now that Lurisans are just banned. But the Snow Yorion decks in Legacy, I don't think they care that much at all about the 3 mana tax. Those decks typically wanted to sandbag the Yorion as long as possible anyway. And I'm sure there's probably turns where they can afford to just pay 3 mana to put in their hand, because they wouldn't have wanted to play the Yorion that turn anyway, but wanted to hold up something else. And then I've heard that it's basically just an Oko deck that only plays the forces. And so people are talking about how by putting it in your hand, you can now pitch your Yorion to force.
Force of Will, yeah.
So I don't know how often that's going to be a thing, but it's definitely not nothing. So if you're playing against a deck where you're like, man, I really need to counter this spell or whatever, and I have like maybe my force and a bunch of fucking, a random astrolabe or, other non-blue cards, you're just like, well,
it's free.
Mana, guaranteed blue card.
Yeah, it's free at that point. If the thing you care about is having force of will and the other cards don't do anything anyways, then it's free, because like if they don't do the thing, you still have the Yorion. And maybe you draw another blue card that turn. So it's just like the opportunity cost is like you have to skip spending 3 mana on a card that probably didn't matter anyways if you needed force of will to not die.
Yeah, some people mention like Brainstorm too. Oh, it's a free card. You can dig one deep with your Brainstorm or whatever. And sure, but I don't know if that's going to be as relevant as pitching to Force. But
it's real.
It's something. Yeah,
it's real.
And I think to some extent in Modern, Yorion may still be the best companion for similar reasons, where the decks that are being played in are these really slow incremental value, control decks where they don't mind sitting until they have 400 mana and they can just pay 8 for Yorion if they want, or just take it, maybe you don't need to hold up double Cryptic Command. You can hold up with 1 this turn and put it in your hand.
Like, let's say turn 6, you pay 3, you put Yorion in your hand, you hold up Archmage's Turn plus Force negation. Easy.
And there's not really a huge downside there.
Yeah.
So I think it makes the slower companion decks better. But I do think you are a little bit less incentivized to go out of your way to conform your deck to be a companion deck, because they are clunkier.
Jegantha is an interesting one.
Yeah, so like, does Tron still play Jegantha?
Or like humans.
Does Storm still play Jegantha?
I mean, yeah, for some of these decks, it was so free anyways that, like, is it really a cost?
I guess, like, humans might play Jegantha for the same reasons that Burn might still play Lurrus, right? If you're playing Jegantha, it's because you don't have shit going on.
And they have a lot of turns where they're, like, casting stuff off Vial anyways, and they don't use their mana. That was always, like, a thing. Like, what do you do for mana in humans? It's like, well, you cash in these, Horizon Canopy lands.
Yeah. Although, one thing to note, Ancient Ziggurat, very bad at putting companions in your hand.
Ziggurat is bad at everything in that deck other than killing your opponent with fast bodies.
It's very good at playing a turn 1 Nova Hierarch and a turn 2 Mantis Rider, and that's about it.
Yeah. And some of your sideboard cards with, like,
I guess,
strange restrictive, white black or whatever, like, Comball or whatever, or Setting Collector.
Or like you drew or you happen to be still playing Keswick and Malcontents or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think of the implications to the popularity of companion decks?
I don't think the drawback... I mean, so... It addresses some of the problems I had with Companion, but not all of them. The biggest problem, I think, with Companion was that they were just good. Like, they were too good. Right? Like, they were just really powerful. And so this dials that back, at least. Like, they're not just, like... You're not getting beaten over the head by Lurrus anymore. Which is nice. But I don't think it fixes my really strong worries about homogenizing the formats, because I still think a free extra card is worth it to, tweak your deck a bit and lose a sideboard card. I don't think the needle has really moved on that too much. I think, less decks are the decks that were like bending over backwards for it probably aren't going to, but a lot of decks weren't, right? Like, and a lot of people for like the Yorion decks realized that 80 cards wasn't so bad, right? Like,
yeah, after years and years of 61 cards is the devil. And now here we are with happily putting 20 more cards in our deck just to have access to a stupid Yorion.
I think we just have so many, efficient cantrips now with stuff like Astrolabe, and, you really benefit from having these bullet cards in your deck sometimes.
Well, that and, like, the card pool is big enough that you can have a lot of like, redundant effects.
Exactly. The redundancy is really there now where it wasn't before.
So, like, I was talking to John a little bit before about Legacy, and like, oh man, if everyone's gonna be playing Lurrus decks, that means I forget. I was like, oh yeah, maybe like there's gonna be less force type stuff. So maybe just kind of play Belcher. Just belch them. If you want to sit there and play around with Mishra's Baubles, just get belched, dude. And then I realized that if you're playing Yorion and you're playing 4 Force of Negation and 4 Force of Will, you have more forces per card than you did with just 4 Force of Wills in a 60 card deck.
Exactly.
So it's even worse to be belching kids.
Imagine if they did that in a 60 card deck, though.
Yeah, so like all the 60 card decks are still playing like 4 Force of Will and maybe like 1 or 2 negations.
Delver's usually playing like 6 of the effect.
It's bad news bears on that front.
But yeah, so I had the issue with the homogenization. But what I kind of touched on previously was my concerns about the repetitiveness of the play, right? Like WotC is saying like, oh well, since you're not doing it till later in the game, you're like, because you're more incentivized to actually play out your cards in hand first because they're cheaper. You're not going to be playing the companion till later in the game, which creates more variety of gameplay because maybe the game ends before you get to that point. I don't know how much I buy that in formats like Legacy and Modern. I think the decks have the tools. The decks that want to be playing these type of companions are interactive enough to get there. For like Lurrus and Yorion. Stuff like Obosh though is a bit more interesting. Now it's like, well, you have to make your deck only have odd cards, which is like a pretty real cost, right? And then you have to pay the 3, then 5. That's
just for an Obosh.
Yeah, just for Obosh. I mean, because the problem with that is because previously you would have a setup turn before the Obosh, right? So you would play your Glorybringer and then you would play your Obosh. Well, now you can't really do that, right? What are you playing the turn before, right? You have to pay 3. That's a 1-drop on 4. Like before, you were playing a 3-drop on 4. And
so what? It'd be like turn 1 Arbor Elf, turn 2 Utopia Sprawl, put Obosh in another Arbor Elf. Ooh. And then what? Untap Glorybringer? You can't afford to play the Obosh anyway.
Yeah, so I mean that takes a hit, I guess. The Zerta Dex is interesting because Zerta actually reduces the cost when it comes into play, so you could maybe like roll it all into 1 turn on like 6. And like still we can't reduce it lower than 1 though, right? With Zerta?
No.
So yeah, it is kind of awkward that I feel like the two most egregious offenders being Yorion and Lurrus. I feel like the play patterns are still like not terrible, whereas some of the other ones are like a little bit more impacted, and they were cared a little bit more about like when you're doing it like curving out really well, right?
Yeah, so I just think it hurts Yorion decks the least.
Yeah,
because the types of decks playing Yorion are typically the ones who want the games to go long anyway. Mm-hmm. And will often have turns where they can afford 3 mana to get a free card.
Yeah, exactly. Because you would have turns where you would just like spend 3 mana casting a bunch of like Astrolabe garbage anyways, or like a main phase Omen of the Sea, or like shit like that.
Yeah, just like it's like a mana sink that always gets you this pretty good card.
Yeah.
Oh, but rest in peace, Garuda.
Yeah, Garuda is very bad in Legacy now. You need 3 LEDs to do the thing instead of 2, which is a bit of an ask.
It's quite a bit more.
Yeah, quite a bit more.
So I think it does. Like, what do you think about playing companion cards just in your deck?
I think Lurrus is the one that really benefits the most from that. I could see Zerta maybe being a thing too, but I think Lurrus is where it's really at. There's, our friend Sam has been playing like, Soul Sisters, black-white mid-rangey type decks, and like Lurrus is pretty good in that deck. I mean, it's not busted, but it's like it gets a slot or 2. I think 1 or 2 of them I don't think are unreasonable. I'm not really worried about it. I guess. I guess companions index are something that would be cool to see, but I'm not like concerned about. Because like the companions aren't like
well, yeah, I don't expect anyone to be concerned about the power level of the cards in main decks. But do you think we're going to be actually seeing that happen?
Luris.
Due to the tax.
I think we'll see Luris. Pop up the most. Maybe Obosh. I can see Obosh still having a place. It's like a 5
drop. But Obosh to me just feels like a big dumb beat stick still.
It curves out well for those type of decks though. Like what else are you doing on 5?
Luca. Glory Bringer. It's like you want to play the turn after your thing, right?
They can play a big 4-drop now, like a Baloth or something. I don't know.
I guess you play even cards.
You know what it seems really insane with is card that everyone forgot about, even though it had like an absurd amount of text on it. Questing Beast. Questing Beast and Obosh is... Oh, yeah, you can do that, right? No, it's only odd stuff still, right? I think the ability still only affects odd.
I think so.
I don't think that ever really came up, but I think it actually does only affect odd. So I guess that's fine. You're not getting double striking, unblockable, insano, questing beasted. God, that would be awful. It's getting nugged for 8 by this questing beast that you can't block.
It's like... I'm sure it would have happened somewhere. Remember the card Hero of Bladehold? The card everyone's forgotten about?
Yeah, that card. Whew.
Hero into an Obosh? Whew, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, it is. What is that, a 3/4 with Battle Cry that makes 2 attacking 1/1s?
Yeah.
So that would be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 by itself. Woof. Oof. Yeah, that's assuming you have no other creatures from like turns 1 through 3 attacking.
Except it doesn't work because Obosh only buffs odd CMC things.
Good thing. Good job, Watsy.
Wait, Obosh still combos with the Raise Boar. If you Raise Boar an Obosh, because it's legendary, right?
Is it? Yeah, it is.
Then you get 18 damage.
Wow. Keep that one stored away for later.
Get you a Generator Servant.
Yeah.
God, I'd still want to eventually play a stupid Generator Servant deck.
Just play the sneak attack for Planeswalker card. Play against the Luca deck that I played against.
The Planar Bounded Conflux, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. That deck was
pretty
insane.
hot.
Just like Luca into your Emrakul off of Seasoned Pyromancer tokens.
No, just off of off of itself.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Because if you hit a token, you might hit a 3-drop, and it's like,
Oh, I'm sorry, you got off the Seasoned Pyromancer, which then, yeah, you already got the tokens. Yeah, it's like value. Value. Oh,
man, that's so adorable.
So, where do we move from here? We've talked a bit about how the formats will adapt.
Well, so the thing is, we're going to be seeing more companions, right?
I hope not, but probably. You think they're printing more?
Do you think this is the last time they're ever going to print companions?
Fingers crossed. Please? Stop? No more. My biggest fear is that long term, if they keep making these damn things, they're going to start costing them with the tax taken into account.
Or even worse, alternative ways to pay the tax.
Oh. Which just gives them even more range to fuck up. I'm just like, Hogak. Example A, Hogak.
Like, if your opponent has lost 3 or more life this turn, you can pay 0 instead of 3 to put it from your sideboard into your hand.
Great.
If you've drawn more than 4 cards, I don't know, man. Just like random ass, stupid,
now
fucking like hideaway land levels of shenanigan.
Fuck that. I hate that. I hate everything about that.
If you control 2 more creatures than your opponents.
Stop. These make way too much sense. These are like way too, like, I can imagine these way too easily. Ugh.
If you control 2 fewer lands than your opponent.
I just imagine a future where we're like getting fucking nugged by ornithopters, like on, like it's like Affinity all over again, but instead of like a Ravager, it's just some stupid thing out of the fucking sideboard every game. It's like the same thing every game.
It'll be like a Storm Companion. This companion's like companion tax costs 1 less for each spell you've cast this turn. Ah! Is this what's the fucking word? Unexplored design space?
You know, my biggest sadness about this whole change is that it makes Lutri like hot garbage.
Oh yeah, Lutri's pretty ass now. 6 mana, it's like you have to play Commander in order to get...
You can't even do it on... You can't even pay the 3 during their turn.
Yeah.
So you can't even copy their spell with it for 6 mana.
You can't even... It's not even a bad Torrential Gearhulk anymore. It's... Yeah.
I don't know if that one's worth it. Like, playing a Highlander deck. It's pretty rough. I was the only companion I bought, too. I was like, this one has the lowest power level and seems the most fun.
Although, to be fair, you've played Highlander decks before Lutri existed, so...
I wanted to be rewarded for it. I wanted an excuse, Chris. I wanted an excuse to make content.
You know what you could do?
Oh.
You could make a not Bant. It would have to be an Abzan Highlander deck.
What the fuck? Abzan?
And reveal Lutri as your companion. Just to show him who's boss. I'm playing Highlander because I want to.
Reveal it and they just never play a blue or red card and they're just like...
Yeah, I just can't cast my Lutri anyway, but don't need it.
You gotta play it with like... When you copy stuff, like X spells, does it copy the X?
Whatever X is on the stack, I believe so.
You gotta play like Astrolabes or something so you can play it in like a deck with Villainous Wealth and then like copy like a fat fucking Villainous Wealth.
I'm actually not sure if it copies X or not.
It said it had to be pretty big for doubling it to be worth it though, right? It's like 3 extra mana. So it would have to be 4 or X equals 4 or more, so that's 7, that's 10 mana.
Yeah, X will be the same.
I think it has to be, right? Because like if X equals 3 and you cast Lutri, you'd be better off just going up to 6, right? Because you would dig.
Well, it'd be the same.
You would dig 3 deeper, and you would also get bigger stuff.
So
4 is where like it actually starts to like...
Yeah, 4 and up
is where it pays off.
But below 3, it's actually worse.
Yeah.
Because if X is 2, right?
So that means your minimum cost is 4 plus the 3 colored sources plus the... Yeah, so it's 10 mana minimum to be benefiting from Lutri off of Villainous Wealth. Yeah, maybe it's just best for like bringing in against opponents casting fat fucking spells so you can copy it.
But then they still get their fat spell.
Could Gifts against Storm, they like Gifts Ungiven.
So, I will Gifts Ungiven.
I'll Gifts Ungiven. I'll put Force of Negation in my file or something. I don't even know.
Yeah, straight to the fucking Shadow Realm with that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Although, see, if you're playing a Highlander deck and you play Gifts Ungiven, it's actually just look for 4 cards. No restriction.
Oh man. As always, way out in the weeds, we have gotten. So, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to play very much paper with the new companion rule because they have announced that there's going to be no large paper events for the rest of the year. No more GPs, no in-person PTs, nothing.
Yep.
We were really hoping to go to Vegas this year, but I think in my heart of hearts, since this all started, I knew it wasn't going to happen. But it hadn't been announced that it wasn't happening. Now it's definitely off the table, which is a real bummer, because, man, I really liked wandering around at, like, midnight with Magic players, drinking out of open containers in the desert when it's like 100 degrees.
Something nice about hanging out with your mates, wandering around outside when it's still like 90 plus fucking degrees,
in the
drinking
dark.
alcohol out of your fucking paper bag. It doesn't even have to be in a paper bag. It
I was
doesn't even
drinking
matter.
box wine last time. It's like a juice box, like an alcoholic juice box. Cracking packs. Looking for slither blades.
You know, having like a midnight legacy test session in like the lobby of some random hotel. I don't even know who was staying in that hotel.
Oh, we were in like a section that was like, it wasn't even being used. We just like, walked in an open door to someone's. It was like someone was staying there that we knew, but like it was like a banquet area or something. They had like a conference area. They had like all the tables out. It was just like, don't mind us. We'll just let ourselves in. I think what happened is there was someone inside walking by and we like knocked and they let us in, and then more people kept coming and we kept letting more people in because it wasn't locked from the inside. And so before long we had like 8 people playing Legacy in the middle of this fucking weird ass area, and then finally a security guard like wandered by and saw us and was like, please go.
Like, are you staying here?
Some of us are.
Well, yes, but actually no.
Like looks at his watch. She's just like, can you not? Yeah, it's great. The food was amazing. Yeah, I would really want to go back and do Magic things with my peeps.
Yeah, Vegas was really fun, but not for any really Vegas reasons.
Just the food and like the environment.
We didn't even go to like any buffets or anything.
Nope, didn't gamble.
Unless
you count entering the main event.
Yeah, fucking lost that one. Tell you what.
I day 2'd in Legacy.
I did not. I got dream crushed in the last round of day 1.
Yeah,
I was this close. I really wanted to day 2 both GPs. That was my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I day 2'd Modern, and I got that close.
It was the same for me in Modern. I was 1 round short. I lost in the last round of Modern.
Yeah, I was playing Elves in Legacy, obviously. And I got paired against Blue Red Delver, and I was like, oh man, I'm usually favored against Delver decks, right?
Grim Lavamancer, is it Staticaster?
Game 1, he just like bolted literally every single creature I played ever.
They play like 8 bolts.
Oh, here's a creature. Bolt it. Here's a creature.
Chain Lightning
Delver. Here's another creature. Bolt it. Something else. Snap. Bolt it.
I was playing
all the time. Delver's like slap, slap, slap.
Back then when I wasn't playing Blue Red, I don't think in Legacy at that point, but back then when I did play it, I was playing Forked Bolt, like a 1 of Forked Bolt in my main deck too, which was also just absurd against decks like Elves.
So gross.
1 mana 2 for 1.
I was like, all right, game 2 on the play. I might have a chance. Like, turn 1, DRS or whatever, go. And he's like, turn 1, Grim Lawmaster. I was like, fuck, we lost.
We'll get him next time.
We're not making it, boys. Ugh.
Mission failed.
We'll get him next time. We didn't get him next time either.
Oh, yeah.
Man, Seattle was even worse. I didn't even make it to the last round.
I didn't even make it literally to the first round of day 2.
Yeah, I remember that.
I showed up early.
Yeah, you got there hella early because you made day 2, and I was gonna fuck around a bit before the Sunday PTQ or whatever, and I just like, I don't know if I like saw you wandering around. I was like, why is John over here? Or you like came up to me and was like, I fucking missed round 1, and I lost. And it's like, I'm not even the only one who had that happen to.
There was like 2 or 3 other people talking to the judges at the same time. They literally opened a wall there was a wall that slid open and there was another room. Like, we're talking like a wall that was probably like 40 feet long, just slid open and revealed another room. And they set up the PA system over there in that room, and you could not hear it from where.
Yeah, from like the main like vendor area or whatever.
And it was I was like waiting in an area that was empty, as though they were going to start an event there. And the main event for like standard or modern, whatever was going on in the main area was running in like an hour late. And so I was like, oh, they're like running an hour late. That means like they're delayed on everything, right? That makes sense. I'll just patiently wait here. And then meanwhile, over fucking around the corner out of sight in this secret room they opened up, they're like calling people on this quiet ass fucking PA you can't hear. I'm so tilted about that. Just got a match loss for first match of day 2. Wasn't even the only person. No.
It would have been even funnier if your opponent also like both players
just
lose.
Don't even show up.
Yeah.
Fucking A, dude.
Meanwhile, John's opponent is like, get some of them fucking play points or whatever.
So frustrating. So frustrating. I'm still unbelievably salty about that.
Yeah, so there's some bad beats. The Team GP was really bad beats, dude. My god. Like, playing a deck and having like a 75% plus win rate for like a month or two leading up to the event, and then just getting fucking ranched in the main event feels terrible.
The first part of that event, I was so nauseous. I felt so sick. And I was like winning, right? Wasn't I winning like all my matches?
Yeah,
like,
you were doing really well
against like Czech File, which was supposed to be an unfavored matchup, and we played against like 2 or 3 times. I think I won, and I literally would like sit down, play the game, and like feel fine while I was playing the game. And as soon as it was over, I was just like, I'm gonna puke. I feel awful. I'm sick. I don't feel good. Prepare for the next match. Fucking crush my opponent. Go back to just being like, oh my god, I'm gonna puke. I feel awful. And meanwhile, you're just getting bodied by like very favored matchups.
By everything. Literally everything. The only deck that I beat in the first like 5 rounds or whatever was Storm. Because that's back in the day
like
where you played
right?
Meddling Mage on turn 2 and named Grape Shot, and they scooped the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a buy.
So like I think it was like the first round we played against Storm. And I'm like, all right, I got this. And I'm like, all right, here's Meddling Mage, Grape Shot. And he's like, okay. And he keeps playing. I'm like, untap Phantasmal Image. Empty the Warrens. Okay. And then he skips it up.
Yeah. It's kind of like squint at him, stare into his soul.
Like,
yeah. What other piece do we need to name? Is it a bounce spell?
Like, is it Bolt?
Is it
empty?
I see Empty the Warrens. Oh, man.
Man, getting slapped by Ifro was not fun.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Everyone says, like, oh, Burn's so favored. Such a favorable matchup for the humans deck. Burn's so easy. What a good matchup. How is playing a Vile Creature deck against Mono Searing Blazes a good matchup? I don't get it.
I think a lot of people weren't playing that many Searing Blazes and Bloods at the time. He was like 4-3, right?
I don't know.
I think he was on 4 Blaze, 3 Blood. Like
I definitely saw Searing Bloods. I like fucking freeboot him and he's like
he's
Blaze Blood
like,
path.
He properly metagamed for the event. Like Humans was the deck that was like breaking out then, and he like correctly identified that. Whereas a lot of other people had not, or previously like people were still like slow on the uptake, which is why like a lot of people were like, oh, Burn is really good because they weren't playing the right cards. But like a good player who's like in tune with the meta was like easy fix, like spray some fucking Flex Seal on that shit and we're good to go. Like, yeah, turns the matchup right around.
It's like the Flex Seal meme. Like, oh, Humans unfavorable. Searing Blood.
Yeah, exactly. Is this EV spraying out? Seal that shit right up. No problem. I gotta say though, like Paulo is like the most intimidating player I've ever played against. Not from like his presence or anything, but just playing. Literally every game action he took just felt like perfect. It's just like it was unbelievable in a format like Legacy with like brainstorms and shit. I could just like I just don't know how to describe it. It was like every single thing he did and then thing I did, he just like was just like it was like playing like a chess game where your opponent just knew every move you're gonna make before you made it and was like prepared to make the appropriate counter move. It's like action, reaction, and it was just like just the worst possible thing every time. And it wasn't like he got lucky. It was like he was like brainstorming and pondering, and like it was just very obvious that he was like really fucking good at the game. It was like it's like this sense of like dread, like slowly.
Is it like this like weight of playing against someone who you know is like better than you?
It was just very obvious that he was better. He was not making mistakes. Like I had decisions where I was like, it was like hard. I was like having to think really hard, and like I think I was making the right decision most of the time. You know, I was like, okay, like I'm thinking really hard and putting a lot of effort into this. And for him, it was just like correct decision. It wasn't like hard for him. For me, it was like I had to like be very careful not to fuck up. And he was just like, yeah, it was like, I don't know. It just felt like playing against like a predator or something. Like, you know, I don't know, like being an animal, like faced with like a, you know, a predator or something where like, you know, they are like stronger and faster than you. I don't know. It was like a feeling I've never really felt playing Magic and haven't really felt since. Like I've played against, you know, other like gold level pros and like, you know, good players, but like playing against PV was just like a one-time experience. And that was like right when I was like not feeling like shit anymore either. That was like the point in the day where like I was feeling like healthy again, and it was like then I got faced against that. It was like, oh my god, like
feeling of dread.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, -1/-1 to this white creature, or no, that's not funny. What is it? Is it something dread? Isn't Dread of Night? It's Dread of Night.
Dread of Night.
-1/-1 to all white creatures.
If only I had more toughness.
Yeah. So. Oh, but yeah. Memory lane. It was a really fun event though, despite like getting kind of bodied. I still love the story about how Mike played against Ben Stark, who basically told him his deck was sweet and that was a deck he wished he could have played, but he just didn't think it was good enough.
Yeah, his teammates wouldn't let him play because it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, he was on the cycling deck, right? The
Mike was playing Drakehaven, yeah.
Yeah, the Drakehaven cycling deck. Yeah, like Ben Stark's on like Desert Red or whatever. It was like his like I think he was
the bigger red deck.
Yeah, and she's like, that deck's really cool. I wanted to play that deck, but my teammates wouldn't let me. And he's like, thought like you kind of like reflects for a bit. He's like, yeah, it's just not good enough or whatever. As he's just dismantling poor Mike.
He's like, how do I say this in a way that's not rude? Yeah, that deck just wasn't good enough.
Oh man, yeah, that was like the event where we like spent a lot of time testing Teamer and Teamer Black, and like
because Mike was originally going to play Blue-White Approach,
yeah,
and it just was not the business.
Wasn't ticking the boxes.
It was really struggling, and then
we tested Ivan's Pyramid deck for a while because Ivan was like, "I got the solution, I got the tech." Was like, this is Ivan Gen, man. Like he made you know, Jeskai Ascendancy combo in standard, and he's got this sick tech deck. Like we better pay attention to this. We might have the truth. And it was just like the strangest fucking deck that no one other than him could make work. It was playing like it was
a Pyramid Tezzeret deck.
Yeah, like both the pyramids, like the one that some people played and the one that no one played. Where you like put brick counters on this shit. Like one put brick counters on it and one took brick counters off. It's just doing weird fucking shit with like Tezzeret and like Battle at the Bridge, I think, and like I think he was playing like some number of Battle. It was a very strange deck. Just like we couldn't get it to work in testing.
No.
Meanwhile, everyone's just fucking slamming Rug and Mono Red into each other.
Man, another team event would be fun.
Yeah, those were good.
Thing is, like, I should have just played Amulet in the event anyway, but one of my concerns was like, if I play Amulet, I'm going to get zero help from either John or Mike because like
that's the wrong line of thinking. You should have been like, I know Amulet so well that I could have spare mental energy to help the other two.
But I wasn't convinced of that either because Amulet's like not an easy deck to play.
Yeah.
And that I don't know if that I guess that would have been my second GP playing Amulet at a GP level. But I was like, man, like can I play Amulet like perfectly and help John resolve Brainstorm? I've never cast Brainstorm with Legacy.
God, Brainstorm is one of those cards that like it's really easy to be like to show someone else a Brainstorm and just like 5-10 minutes of discussion. Like if you're not, like playing an event. Like easily, right? Like
there's no like, hey, what should I put back? Like, oh yeah, these no. Hold on. What's the board looking like?
What's
how many
on top
cards
of the
does our opponent have?
Yeah, what if you bottomed off of like...
Do we have any fetch lands right now? Have we played a land in this turn?
Yeah.
What are our life totals? Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then like you stack them, this way versus this way, and you lose the game. You're like, huh. If only we had just stacked it the other way.
Yeah. Brainstorm's a fucking doozy of a card.
Because it's like, oh, we stacked it this way, but shit, now we really have to fetch or else something terrible happens. But we wanted the second card more than the one we drew. Well, hope we draw it again. And then you don't, and then you're sad.
Yeah.
Or you brainstorm wrong and you end up winning anyway, and you tilt the shit out of Eugene Koo.
Yeah. Been there, done that. That was a fun one.
Oh, that was a treat.
That was the tournament where I had a judge call about Wasteland targeting itself.
I will say the practice team events were a lot of fun.
They were a lot of fun, yeah. Yeah. Team events, real nice.
Except someone has to play standard.
Pioneer now. Pioneer, Modern, Legacy. Although it's really going to be Modern, Pioneer, Standard. But Legacy, Pioneer, Modern it's good shit. You don't have to find someone in the bitch seat to play Standard.
God, if you have to play Modern, Pioneer, Standard, I have not been following Pioneer. I have no idea what's going on. All I know it's been Companions the format, but what's the difference?
Inverter was still able to keep up in the format, even though Companions were a thing and it didn't play them. Although some people were playing Yorion.
That seems ambitious.
But so I think it's probably pretty solid still, so that's good. I own the deck. Minus like a smattering of new cards.
So you're saying that you're volunteering for Pioneer?
I mean, I'd have to. I don't think we'd really have very many people in our group that own Pioneer decks that are like well versed in playing them. So, gotta get us a Legacy player. I mean, at least I can just give someone a Legacy deck and be like, "Congratulations."
No. There's no Legacy here. It's
Modern.
So
we still have to find someone to play Standard.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like, good luck. No one plays Standard in Sacramento. That's not true, but we don't know them. They're another group of players entirely.
Wait, we just have to get Dan Genova because he plays Arena.
He moved away.
That means he plays Standard, right?
He moved back east.
That's how it works.
He's very far away now. That option is off the table. Yeah, just like who plays Arena? Okay, at least now you have like a litmus test for if they're like bad or not, right? Like, what's your rank on Arena?
Oh, you want to do anything? We've got to do a background check first, real quick.
Yeah, so this is a screenshot. No.
I'm just send screenshot with picture of shoe on head, so we know it's you.
Anyways.
Not that there will be any team events
or
ever again.
Any events.
Because there's just no events.
Yeah.
Speaking of no events, there's still no ETA on even like local FNMs again.
Yeah. Someone was asking our local shop today and they were like, whenever the government tells us we can.
And I think even if the city told us you could open tomorrow.
Watsy might not.
Well, yeah, that. And I'm a little skeptical at how the turnout would be anyway.
Yeah.
Because I know not everyone is going to be comfortable going out to these sorts of gathering events, regardless of whatever the government says you
I think
are
once
not to do.
People have like access to widespread testing to see if they've been exposed to it, all the people that already have been are going to be like, well, nothing to lose now. It's going to be like, you know, people who had coronavirus and recovered anonymous.
Yeah.
And then like all the people who haven't been tested or haven't had it yet are going to be like quarantined at home still.
Like the Squidward looking out the window at Patrick and SpongeBob
running around.
But I guess the thing is, if you have the antibodies but still contagious, then that's a disaster, right?
Not if only people who have had it are coming, right?
Well, I'm saying like generally speaking.
Oh. Yeah.
Because if you don't have, like, if you haven't had it, or you know you haven't been tested or whatever, you still can't really stay home forever.
Yeah.
Like you typically have to go out to do something, you know, buy food.
I think once like the testing is widespread, though, there'll be more of a support network for like people that like do need to really, really quarantine, right? Because they'll have like friends and family who they can like, you know, Shanghai into like going and getting stuff for them. But I'm sure it's not going to be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a medical expert, I don't know, but I assume there is going to be a small group of people that are definitely kind of left out in the cold, or left in the cold, so to speak. Which is unfortunate.
My understanding is the test is very unpleasant.
I've heard different things about that. Anyways, let's not talk about that here. I've heard that was like early testing, and there's like a lot of fake news going on around about like how bad it was too. There's like videos of like awful looking insertions that apparently were not necessary. Anyways, let's not get into that here. Hopefully that changes. Anyways, so an announcement, I guess this is a good point to throw it out. Since things are still shut down and not a lot is going on, and there's no more big events the rest of the year, and the majority of events online are going to be on Arena, which is standard, which we don't do here. Not a thing we're interested in. We're going to be moving to doing monthly episodes instead of episodes every other week until either big events are happening that we can talk about on a regular basis, or we are back at F&M again, playing regularly and have derived content to talk about. So once either our local scene is up and going and we have events to talk about, PPTQs, F&M, etc., or at the very least Magic Fests that are, you know, modern or Pioneer at least to talk about, then we can kind of move back into a more regular schedule. But for now, I think we're going to kind of do it monthly because there's just honestly not a lot to talk about. There will be a nice little meta that'll emerge, you know, a month from now. Hopefully we'll have kind of settled in on a new meta for Modern and Legacy, and we can kind of do a deep dive into that, catch up on what we've been doing. I think that'll be a really cool episode to kind of see where things have shaken out. Hopefully it's not like we're just like humdrum sad about Teferi again or something like that, or Uro. But I think that's where we'll be a month from now, and then we'll just be playing it by ear. With that in mind, Chris, what are you excited for until then? What is on your plate for cards or decks that you're excited to kind of dig into now that Companion is going to be hopefully taking more of a backseat?
I think it might be time to start throwing together and replaying some more non-companion decks.
Yeah. Regular old Amulet?
Yeah, whether it be regular old Amulet, or I've been meaning to get around to play some sort of Mystic Sanctuary deck sometime. I just can't really land on what type of flavor of Mystic Sanctuary I want to play. Taking turns. I guess technically, Nexus Fate is a Taking of Turns deck.
Now you gotta get the one with the Castle Vantresses and all that crap. The deck's sweet. Play it with Fires of Invention, banned in Standard.
Banned in Standard.
Must be good.
I can even play like the Blue-Red Rhinos deck.
Yeah. I have everything for that deck except for As Foretold. Which I guess since we're still doing proxies, maybe I could play it. This would be my chance without having to buy As Foretold.
Yeah, I'm actually missing a lot of cards with that deck, but
I have like everything
proxies.
else, I think. But yeah.
Dang, I kind of wanted to play that stupid Obosh deck at some point before things.
The Winolta one?
The Luca Planar Bound Accomplice.
Oh, Luca.
Obosh.
Yeah, not Winolta. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Luca Obosh deck.
But it doesn't look like that's going to be a thing anymore.
Probably not. I mean, the rest of the shell is still fine without Obosh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you don't need Obosh to Luca into an Emrakul.
Still pretty good.
But yeah, I don't know. My start of the week or month, whatever. I'll say Mystic Sanctuary.
Ooh, I like it.
Because I picked some up a long time ago and have never played them. So looking for a list or shell or excuse.
Gotcha. We can play some Moto together and maybe hammer something out. I got that rental account, baby. We can test.
It's like being able to Mystic Sanctuary Miracle cards just seems so dirty.
It's because it is.
But at the same time, I don't know how prevalent or how good a counterbalance deck will be moving forward if Lurrus takes a huge dive in the metagame.
Yeah. So I mean, Modern has always been kind of focused on cheap cards, so you have to weigh, how good is it to get, because like the counterbalance is going to usually be an X for 1, right, over the course of the game. So it's like you can get multiple cards out of your counterbalance as long as you're willing to put the work in, I think. But there are going to be decks where it's just bad, like Tron.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you get lucky and they have a bunch of spheres or something, and you have ones on top, but yeah.
I think I got a pact countered by a land once.
Yeah,
bad.
Feels good on the other side.
It was a blind flip land too. I mean,
yeah,
it's the most common thing to blind flip, right? But feels bad, man.
I did that.
Anyway, John, what are you hyped to be playing?
I'm kind of back on the Swans train. I just really love Ice Fang Codal, and Swans is a fun deck. I like how much card advantage it has. I like the interactiveness. Having Archmage's Charm, Force Negation, Monastery, or Mystic Sanctuary. Like I've been playing a lot of decks that play those 3 cards. Also been playing a lot of decks that supplement that with the Ice Fangs. I'll be definitely doing some direction with that. I think Swans is like what I want to maybe try with. I think there's a few things that make so Hornet Nest is really good against the aggro decks, and I think aggro is still going to be fairly prevalent at least for a little while, at least for a couple weeks, because generally when a meta gets shaken up, what do people go to? They go to aggro, right? Like it's just the easiest deck to get in there, and it's tested, it's proven. You're going to slap people with it that are like dirtling around and messing with new stuff. Plus, we're coming out of a period where these decks were already popular, so people already have the cards. They're already familiar playing the deck. They just got to make a tweak. Also, like we were saying, I don't think Lurrus is like that terrible in those decks anyways because it's like free. So I'm just expecting there to still be like a lot of burn and a lot of prowess. And it's pretty fun just throwing down a Hornet Nest in front of those decks. I don't know if it'll still be a Yorion deck or not. That's the big question. I don't know. Yorion is good in that deck, but I also like the idea of like having less air. So I don't know, but probably some sort of almost certainly going to be playing Ice Fang Codal, but probably playing some sort of Swan Hornet Nest deck. That's my cards of the month.
Well, you could just play Yorion to have an excuse to play everything you want to play.
Yeah, 80 cards. Like, it is nice to have space, but on the other hand, it is nice to be consistent. So it's like, yeah, what do you want to do, right? Just depends on which way the meta goes. So,
and I kind of want to run my stupid Yorion field deck through a league just hey, if Yuri Swan can 4-1, then anything's possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like that deck could have easily 5-0'd with like a little bit better luck on the first round. So did I missed the best part. I didn't tell you about how we beat a Tron player where they drew off of our Swan about they co-select the old co-select twice because we like bounced it, I think, with a cryptic command, and I think we blocked a fatty of some kind with a Swan. So they drew like an absurd number of cards, and we won off of like Hornet Nest. We had like 4 tokens. We attacked them. They like attacked with Kozilek. We sacked the tokens, and then scredded no. We sacked our bees and then blocked with a second Hornet Nest and got 12 bees. And we killed them with Codal and 12 bees.
That's a lot of bees.
Yeah, they got bead. And they were like trying to like they had like the bait. This is like how you're talking about having the crazy big bait spell. They had the bait Karn Liberated. And we were like thinking about it, and we were like, okay, like, do we like counter this thing? Because we only had enough mana to counter like one thing. And we're like, no, we don't counter this. And then they ate like a snap or something, and then they had like the post combat all is dust, and we were like, get that shit out of here. Archmage just charmed that shit. Get out of here. Just freaking slapped them. I'm trying to figure out why. I'm trying to remember why they didn't have the option to like Karn the Hornet Nest.
Probably post combat.
I think it was post combat, maybe. I think it was like the post combat. I think they were like surprised that like we had like just threw some bees under the bus and made a bunch more bees, and they were like, oh no.
I didn't think that one through.
Yeah. Yeah. That was fun. Beating Tron. Man, we beat a lot of people with bees. We played against what else did we play against? I just have a lot of screenshots I posted of like killing people with bees. So many bees.
Posting screenshots of killing people with jank is the best.
It really
yeah,
is.
like I had a screenshot of me killing miracles by attacking for lethal with a single Coiling Oracle.
Oh, we played against not ad nauseum, against Lantern. And we Archmage charmed their Codex Shredder. It's like, look at me, I'm the Lantern deck now. It's just like,
it's hella funny.
Yeah, we just like kept them off of anything relevant so they couldn't like bridge us, and then we just killed them with like a fucking million bees.
Speaking of which, I want to think, I would like to believe that I won a game against Mono Red Prison in Legacy by being in a snaring bridge by playing Archon of Valor's Reach on Planeswalkers so they couldn't cast any Planeswalkers, and then just building cards in hand until my 1/1 elves can do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we were definitely like, well, we only ever have to cryptic bounce something to kill them with bees, so... Even 2 bridges will not do it.
Ah, man. Field of the Dead versus Terminus decks, it's just a simple pleasure.
Bad man, Charlie Brown. I think that about wraps this up, though, right? Before we divert too far down memory lane again, as we're on 2 hours here. We'll be back next month with more sweet stories about jank that we've played. Don't worry, they'll be jank. You'll hear all about it. Just hold tight for a few weeks. But until then, thank you for checking us out and sticking around until the very end. If you're wondering where you can find more of our content in the meanwhile, you can head on over to mtgconflux.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter under the same name. You can check out our past video content, including this podcast, on the YouTube page. You can support us and join the MTG Conflux community at patreon.com/mtgconflux or by buying MTG Conflux shirts and swag on redbubble.com. You can check out links to those on our Facebook and Twitter pages. If you have any suggestions or comments, please reach out to us. We'd love to read them. And again, we really do appreciate you sticking around. We hope you'll join us in the next one.